that the major responsibility of getting the aircraft off the ground is the captain's, and that the captain hardly blinks at all. But the co-pilot kind of blinking quite a bit more, actually.
So he's, what did you say,
visual memory and then visual construct. So he was accessing information in visual memory, went to visual construct. He was exiting what he
but
would do.
his strategy for winning this, for being elected was wanting organizing, enjoying organizing.
Right. To organise, I think, is I have a feeling that's involving kinesthetic self. To organise something, yeah. It's involving kinesthetic self.
Yeah, doing it is kinesthetic.
Okay. Some of you at some point will get to the point where you're really, I wonder if that's helpful, what we've come up with, for Justin. And, is there a strategy when he's successful? What is he doing in his home or in his stuff? When he's really successful, he's organising probably. Something in his strategy when he's not successful, there's a sense that's being skipped out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
get out of shape if things aren't organized.
huh?
You get real bent out of shape if things are organized.
Okay, bent, meaning kinesthetic, out, meaning vestibular, bent out of shape, visual. So when he really gets messed up, it's his feels first, then he gets bent out, it's vestibular, and then it's visual shape.
He walked into the kitchen the other day and said, I'm feeling real off-centered. How old is he? 14. And so we started talking about it. So it's feeling.
He said, I'm feeling off center. Off and center are vestibular.
But he's talking about center so that it's not too far.
Yes, it's about center. That's right. If he said, I feel way out of whack, that would be, more serious than somebody saying, well, I'm feeling off center. Because that's true, it is about
That's
center.
pretty close to center.
Yes.
Just a little off.
Okay. Anything else you have there?
Motivated, yeah.
Okay. All right. Who else has got something?
I have one on the congruency assignment, since we haven't done that yet. That was kind of interesting. About 4 months ago, I saw a show on Oprah about this girl that murdered her kids. And I was very repelled by the girl. Just happened to catch it, and the whole show was just very repelling. So about a month ago, my mother was at the house and we were watching the show. She really wanted to see it, and it was about the girl who killed her kids. So the movie was telling what really happened in the story, using the court transcripts and everything. So the next day, I was watching Oprah again, and she did a rerun of the show of the girl. So now I knew the story, so I could watch her for congruency. And because that's such a bizarre thing for someone to kill their children or try to kill their children, it sparked an interest in me. So I watched her for her congruency. And she was in prison on a television, and the woman who wrote the story of the movie and the book was on, and they were like battling it out, even though the woman who wrote the book was real centered. The girl that was telling the story, at no point, the whole hour, accessed visual memory, visual auditory memory. And
she did. The murderer
She
did.
never
The
did.
author did.
She murderer.
The murderer.
She at no time looked to see what had happened or what she said. She was always in visual
This is
construct.
an excellent observation. It's very astute. This is the kind of calibration really that's really excellent. Yes, there's reasons why, matter of fact, that she's been unable to go into visual memory and unable to go into auditory memory. More than likely, that's a shame that she's been unable to, right? Possibly that this is her whole life has been affected now by this. She's unable to go into those senses.
Well, she claims that she didn't do it.
Yeah.
So all the evidence was to the effect that she did. So I thought that if she didn't do it, that she would be drawing from memory what she saw. And talking about what did you see, what happened, what did the man say to you, because she kind of got jumped out of the bushes and just shadow children. So I thought at some point she would access that, and that was so interesting that she never did. She kept doing this, like she was just really in this whole area trying to keep this active, no matter what they asked for. And then,
so she's constructing. She's really very, very busy constructing what it was that occurred, rather than coming actually from memory.
and she was like in this plane.
Okay. So what do we know about that plane? That she's very much in introspection as well, right? Because she's visually constructing and she's in internal dialogue. Okay. She's looking up to the right and she's looking down to the left, which is a vector of introspection.
I noticed that she was very, she had a lot of facial movements when she spoke. That was one of the things she was listening to, that she used her eyes to, things like that, large gestures with her face. And she did a lot of this type of look. So, but I thought she was very congruent.
Would be interesting to notice which angle.
Always like this.
She was over on the right, was she? Okay, so she's feeling like she's coping. She's coping with this. She wasn't feeling, inhibited or reversed during the process, but that she kind of was in a coping mode, especially if she was,
So why would she
her
go?
right shoulder was dipped more than her left.
Why would she go into construct? I mean, I can understand not going into the memory, but why? How could she?
She's claiming that she didn't do it, so she has to make up the story.
That's what
Possibly. That's one explanation.
What about people who-
Another explanation might be that it was so traumatic that she is unable actually to have access to the memory, and that she has to construct actually what it was. That's possible too. It's more likely that actually that the whole thing was, to her mind, actually was something that's quite shocking and traumatic. So she's unable, her body's unable to deal with that. The reason why is because the visual memory and the auditory memory of hearing what occurred and seeing what occurred so overloaded those two senses that the vestibular system just went, just blocked out those two senses. Because every time she would go into those senses, her whole apparatus would be overloaded intensely. So the brain learns not to go into those senses.
So it's possible to construct something that happened in the past?
It's possible to construct something that happened
It really
in the
did.
past, yes.
That's called lying.
Well, that's not
Or
what I'm
is it called lying?
Or trying to.
It's constructing.
Lying is one aspect of it.
It's constructing it.
Another thing with her was, for such a obvious, and this goes with what you're saying, that maybe it was so horrific that she couldn't deal with it, was that she used all visual predicates. And everything that she related, and they kept asking, well, how did you feel? How did you feel? And she never discussed.
Okay, the reason, and why is it that she's using vision? Do you know?
To avoid feeling?
Yes, excellent, Tanya, excellent. Because it's majorly the visual sense that enables a person to be able to dissociate. So, she's been able to dissociate from the feelings. Rightfully so, because you'd imagine that the feelings would be quite horrific. She, would hardly be able to live with those feelings.
So is that what a sociopath or a psychopath,
She was a sociopath.
are they able to do that? They're able to just continue constructing reality without any connection to the past. Like they say a psychopathic liar, that they really and truly have no memory of what they've done. I mean, in terms of like what we maybe would have, like really a memory of something.
Yeah.
These people can have like a blank where we would have memory. I don't know what they've done to do that, or is that really possible?
Their expression of what's there is that it's blank, however. Everything that passes us by, we
Yeah, it's there.
recall.
They don't have access to it then, for whatever reason.
The second part of it, to close your eyes, and I didn't listen to her for 30 minutes, but I did listen to her for a few minutes. And I noticed that her...
Okay, so Terry, what did you do? You closed your eyes
I just was in another
and listened excellently. Okay.
And I noticed that her tonality went up and down with regularity. That she was up and down, and that she used a lot of intonation, like and she's talking about and she would go up, down like that, and I mean you could hear she was doing that. And that she did use choppy phrases when she spoke. This is Edison.
Okay, she is coping with this situation. It is a situation which is somewhat uncomfortable for her. The abruptness of it and the chopped up speech is evident of that. There really isn't this kind of an abruptness going on. Okay, so what did you come up with? Was she
I felt like she
congruent
was
or-
incongruent with
Incongruent.
everything she said.
Yeah.
She always seemed to be countering that all the information was false, but she didn't seem to be on a defensive mode. She was more, even though she was saying, "Oh, that's true," I felt like she was saying, "But I'm right, and I don't have to defend myself." So I felt like she was very incongruent with her, what I would perceive that she would be visually and in the memory, and she would be more in feeling instead of.
Do you think she really believes that somebody jumped out of the bushes and did it?
Yes,
It could very well be true even. It's very easy to be trapped inside of something that nobody understands, really.
Yes,
You can
I
make
would say it's
valid
possible.
judgments about this woman because they can easily get riled up about, oh, well, she killed her kids. And everybody kind of goes along with that.
Yeah. Plus she had
For most
a child
people,
while she was being sentenced.
Yeah.
Well, right, she's
She
very
got
mature.
pregnant while she was
Obviously.
in jail going through all this, and she had a baby while she was being sentenced. So she was really, had a lot of stuff going on.
So what was the thing that occurred that you experienced of this that led you to believe that she was incongruent?
I felt like that she seemed to be dissociated from what she was saying because she was always, kind of doing that, like, oh, come on, that up and down type stuff. And I thought that she should have been accessing some memory. But what you're saying makes sense why she wasn't. I just felt like the way that she was just incongruent with the story that she was telling.
Okay, there's a couple of things you said that would lead a person to sense incongruency. First of all, she's speaking about something that she's seen, and you saw that she's in visual construct. She's speaking about what it was that took place, and she's auditorily constructing that rather than coming from auditory memory.
Even the
so
trial,
there's-
she spoke about the trial, she never accessed this. I mean, things that were just, well, what happened after you went to jail? It was still all over here. Even things that were factual, she was still over here.
Yeah.
Which
This is a coping strategy.
yeah.
Okay, so what other thing we saw, because mostly if something is incongruent, then the output channels, the channels that are used in the communication are not quite in alignment with each other. That would lead you to believe sense incongruency or congruency. So there were some other things there, right? There was this kind of erraticness that you were watching and you sense, incongruency. Okay, that's really pretty good. Anything else with that?
No, I just thought that was a
That's
good
excellent.
subject.
That's very good.
I was thinking along that line of, why she would maybe not want to remember it would be because she was probably in an atmosphere where she didn't feel safe, where people were ready to attack her. And if she had accessed any of it, they could have just pushed and read anything into it.
Yeah.
And that would just be my
I think it's a shame that
Systems is so, very, very, it's vicious. Very vicious at times.
Well, her
Well-
daughter
People are-
testified that her mother shot her.
Of a child lived.
Two of the children lived, one of them died, so her daughter said, my mother shot me. So it was kind of, to me, that kind of, after I saw the movie and saw more of the facts, I realized that the odds were that the woman really did do it because the daughter was 12 years old and she said, my mother shot me. So with that in mind, while I was watching it, it kind of made me feel that she was telling me. Even though at first I thought maybe she was a victim of the courts or something. But that's kind
So
of
terrific anyway.
Yeah.
For her to feel that whatever circumstances have pushed her over the edge.
yeah.
Certainly a lot of that being patterned on the television over and over and over and over and over again. Anyway.
I don't know how the rest of you feel about her, this woman, But I really
Feel
support
great
this woman.
compassion, yeah.
And even though I sense this is a horrific thing, that her children, that this occurred to her children, I still can't, not yet, still I'm seeing her as a human, and I have
I can
compassion
understand
for
the
her going through
circumstances, yeah.
everything.
Well, in England, a woman's not held accountable for killing her children until after they're 3 years old. For that postpartum depression stuff.
Where is this?
In England, so that was a case.
Oh, and in the animals, you see this over and over again, I mean, for whatever reasons. The mother, selects one that's not real perfect and takes it out or whatever. There's many, many reasons why we don't understand
All right.
so much.
Okay, who's next?
I've got a couple questions about that. Could the child have been interrogated by someone who's trying to prove the mother guilty, and
Yes.
the child convinced
Yes,
or
possible.
made to believe that it was really the
And
mother?
also, if this is a pattern in the family, too, of going to visual construction as opposed to memory, like if that had been patterned in beforehand, then it's very easy, too, to also pace and lead until the child has a very good visual construction of what happened. I mean, there's so many variables.
So you could also say, if you were constructing something, if you've constructed it to the degree where you begin to believe it, could you then start accessing what you constructed from the memory side? If you've constructed
No,
it so often that
once
it's
you've
memory?
seen a pink tea kettle run across the table, and you've actually seen it, right? It's possible there to be visual memory with something, yes.
But you have to actually see it in real life and not just maybe in your visions and dreams and stuff?
Once you've seen something, it's possible then for it to be in memory.
So if you see it in your mind's eye, you could then access it from your memory
Yes.
in real life.
Possible. Mostly, though, if it's coming from memory, then it's tied into actual experience and everything. Right? And then something that's visually constructed is coming just from a componentry of the brain that's getting that configuration. Whereas something that you've actually seen before truly is kind of wired to all of the experiences and things, which is kind of more housed by the right hemisphere.
So if you constructed a pink teapot,
Yeah.
blue over here, and then you put it into your memory, still, would there be a tendency to go first to construct, back to memory, and back to construct?
It would depend on how much experience then came in from memory that led you to have it in visual memory. Because if there was still need to construct it to get it there, then you really would be visual construct. Yeah. Okay. Okay, who would like to?
Two things. One, the first one was just a fragment of something I noticed this morning with the client. It was a congruency. We were standing in front of a house, and I pointed out to him that this fascia board on this house on the porch was rotting, and it was something he was interested in avoiding in his own house. And he said, yes, but we're going to avoid that on my house by using redwood. And I said, yes. And I said, redwood also can rot. And he said, well, you said we could put some wood light on it and back prime it. And he said, I'd rather pay his voice dropped and his eyebrows closed in. He said, I'd rather pay the $1,000 or $2,000 more and be done with that. He made this a solid motion. Anyway, it was all very congruent. So I'd rather pay the money to be done.
Okay, so that's all congruent. Yeah.
That's what's going on?
Yeah.
So that was just a fragment of that. The other thing I was listing one of my own strategies, and I was having some difficulty discerning what I'd done yesterday, the strategy I used. And this morning, I got an opportunity to use it again at this time to notice what I was doing and to improve on it.
Okay, so what is it about first?
Yesterday I was in a real funk, real kind of a withdrawn state, and I left here and drove down the highway and got several miles up the road and was struggling with whether or not to turn around and come back and come see you and do something about it, or keep on going and stay in the funk. And so I had some conversation with myself to the effect that, weighing the pros and cons, like if I keep on going, I'm going to probably stay in this a while, and I want to learn something. If I'm going to learn something out of this, I need to turn around and go back and deal with it. Then I started making a picture of, the drive back, pulling in the driveway, walking in here, finding you, and, just a quick flash of going through the thing visually. And then it was like a done deal. All there was to do at that point was just find the next driveway and turn around.
Okay, can I say something just about what it is that you said so far? Notice that Richard is really turning things with his hand, okay? So actually it was about actually turning things around. I wonder, Richard said to us in the very beginning of starting this that he went up the road and then turned around. Now, more than likely last night,
Going down the road.
he went down the road. And of course his explanation this morning is that he went up the road again. So he's going up, right? But more than likely he went down the road. Okay.
So anyway, this morning, after I met with this client, I noticed that I had a little touch of that bummer sort of state kind of floating in there, kind of sliding in, and I noticed that it was like, I don't want any of this. It's there's no point in it. I'm a real choice here, and I'm choosing to actually do this. And then I started thinking about this homework. What can I do to improve the strategy that I employed last night? So it's like I started actually making sounds in my truck as I'm driving, and doing my eyes up and like this, and visualize walking in here and saying, seeing y'all and saying hello, and going to get hello, hey, like this, and actually saying this in the truck, all right, and coming up and out, and when I would do this, I'd get this sort of a rush, the same sensation that I get when I'm feeling high. Okay, so it's like I was eliciting a high, and I'd ride along and do it again, and so by the time I got here, I was high.
Okay, so in listening to the strategy, the stuck state was mostly in the kinesthetic sense. More than likely, there was some internal dialogue there as well. So it's a kinesthetic auditory dialogue. Mostly, what we're sensing from Richard's explanation of how he moved out of it was he's using a lot of visual predicates, like quite incredible, a major amount of visual predicates, and also then the vestibular predicates that he's using are all up, actually. And the actions, in fact, were involving up, so it's likely then to start to affect the whole system in this way. Okay. So more than likely, you'll absolutely hear what vestibular system is happening for the person if they say they're out of it, or they're feeling down about something, out and down, rather than feeling maybe inside self, and feeling up about things. Yeah. Anything else there?
No.
Okay. All right, who's next?
I'll go. I did number 5, practice the induction techniques with willing subjects.
Yeah.
And start with an anchor of here and now. What I've done is I've added this to my tools of working with my clients. And I had a lady come who was interested in a combination of acupuncture and what she felt was hypnosis to deal with some weight loss. And so I said, well, great. How do you want to go about this? And I heard from her how she's been feeling and what she's been doing that allowed for a weight gain. And just asked her if she knew techniques already to help lose weight. Of course, she's really grounding diet and exercise.
Okay, so far she's given us totally kinesthetic, more or less, predicates. So when you ask her the question, how is she going to cope or deal with this, you see we're realizing that she absolutely kind of, I think, is in a stuck state, even though whatever she's come up with and her ability to deal with this, she's mostly used kinesthetic predicates totally. Okay.
Yeah, and she thinks in terms of chunks. She thought as a 30 pounds, and if we think of losing 30 pounds at one time, that's very difficult. Outside of surgery, I don't know of any way to do it. So I put some needles in her on the table and just asked her if she was comfortable, made sure that there was no, sometimes needles cause a little discomfort, and there was none. And then just did a very simple relaxation technique of being there, taking a couple of 3 deep breaths, allowing it to relax, and then from there going to a full body relaxation from the feet and actually withdrawing sensation as we went up the body. And then got her very relaxed, evidently. She was really out. And then talked about weight and what it meant and how to go about letting go a little bit at a time. And did about a half hour with her on the table with the needles into the mouth. The only feedback I got later was that she was more relaxed and she could remember me. And I thought it was a really nice combination at the time.
So one of the things for her weight gain may have been that she was a little nervous before, so then it led her to eat a little bit.
Well, she quit smoking, and it was from the quit smoking that the weight gain came.
So the work that you did majorly in helping her get back to her ideal physiology was that she feels more relaxed. And so when she's feeling more relaxed, she's might not having as much need to satiate self. So that's one way of coping with a person who's wanting to lose weight. Another, you would also be wanting, I suppose, to talk a little about calories in and calories out as well, and the type of foods that she's eating. That she's going a little bit more into complex carbohydrates, and that you give her those equations: 12% fat, 12% protein, 76% complex carbohydrate. And that she has the ability to see herself lighter.
Right. I did all those things in terms of answer that diet. She's aware.
Any post-hypnotic suggestion that you gave her?
Basically, the
when she was waking up.
Intent. Well, she woke up feeling really relaxed and really good.
Okay, so did you say what? And in a little while you'll be waking up, and when you've woken up, you'll be feeling quite relaxed and fresh.
Right, relaxed. She was going straight to school. She's in her 40s and gone back to nursing school. So I set that up so that school would be real relaxing and easy, because that's where she jumps out. And the post-hypnotic suggestion I also laid in was that exercises can be really fun. And through the dialogue for half an hour, the exercise was threaded in along with eating smaller quantities, really going more towards fiber tendencies toward constipation. She gets stuck in more of a way.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how I...
Okay, another thing that you can do to make sure that you've done the change is you ask the person then, you ask them to show you to what degree they are feeling confident in their ability to move toward gaining what it is that they sense they like about having ideal physiology. And
how would you
set up an ideomotor dynamic where the body is going to tell you that. And so, maybe you ask for a hand movement, and if the hand rests completely back on the lap, then it's indication that she's feeling that she's totally behind this, and that she feels confident in her ability to do it. Because if her hand kind of got to there, you would know, well, this much of her feels like confident about this, but there's this much yet that we need to work with, actually.
So you might set it up so that the hand is brought up and then allowed to come down at the rig. So that it's
of which her body is feeling she can cope with this.
To the level.
To go to that level of which she's feeling that she has the ability to deal with this, you see. So you're using language that's to do with her dealing with it. And good idea to check that out with the person, okay? Because then you're always knowing where the status of things are.
Well, I did one induction where the person and I was talking to their consciousness and to their unconsciousness, and their unconscious was really in harmony with the direction. And their conscious state was a little bit hesitant about what may or may not be possible. And the unconscious was really clear that it was very, it saw the goal was very obtainable.
So what happens in a situation like in trance and hypnosis work when the conscious mind is really kind of doing stuff that's not quite about the task? The unconscious mind is kind of going along with you, but the conscious mind is kind of running, kind of wanting to talk about it, wanting to know what's going to happen next, and how are they relaxing, and things like that. What do you do when you realise that the person's conscious mind is really kind of interfering, maybe even with the process?
Distract it to something else.
Yes. So what kind of things could you do? That's excellent.
Play with music.
So we're talking about when they're in a trance state? Even just bringing up the unconscious more, allowing the unconscious to, just talking about the unconscious more, even not even acknowledging the conscious.
The best thing to do is to give the conscious mind something to do. Give the conscious mind something to do, actually. Because if you're not giving the conscious mind something to do, then, it's going to be doing stuff. In this, especially if you see somebody's distracted.
I mean, like counting or something? Would be an example.
Or wouldn't that be like if you hear the door closing or something like that?
Yes,
Or you hear the noises outside?
sometimes, I'll set something up where a person's actually doing something with their hands or something like that. Or they're actually using their conscious mind to tune into some other sound, like the sound of nature or something like that, and to increase the sound of that so that that's there, so that actually you're really engaging the brain, because, to the degree to which there's distraction there, that's as much of the neurology that's not available for their change. And the change really does occur when there's a large enough population of cells in the head that are elicited to actually affect the change. So you're wanting to get all those cells as much as you can be involved in it. Okay.
I missed something. You said that if you're distracting the conscious mind, those cells involved in that, are they taking away from the cells that are available?
If you're having the conscious mind do something, which is going to be compatible, rather than the conscious mind doing something which is actually creating a distraction, where the person is having to think about the thing next that they're going to be doing, or they're thinking about what the meaning of that word is. That's another way to distract the conscious mind, is to create transderivational search in the person. So you might use a word like, no matter which way you hear this word, wait, that it means the same thing. And you're talking about something else, and of course you've used this word wait, and so the person's trying to find the meaning. What does this mean? You mean I need to wait, or you mean actually like this is involving something that's heavy, and the person's sort of thinking about this. So that you've sent the person into a transderivational search for the meaning of information, and then you're going on with something else. And so it just overloads the brain. The brain can't be focused on what the meaning of that was, and also this. So it's like an overloading technique. The main thing is that you're wanting the brain to be on record when you're there doing the change work. Because if the brain's not on record, then it's just not going to go in as well. The brain has to really be on record. So we're going to be talking a little bit about this in hypnotic technique. And mostly it's giving you information also on how your own brain is working, and what to do in fact with your own brain. Okay. Anything else, Ned?
That sounded pretty good. Sounds very important, actually, because I've had this happen where the conscious mind does start backpedaling or seeming to stretch out time and meaning. Aaliyah does this all the time. Right before bedtime, suddenly she's very hungry, very thirsty, has to go to the bathroom, wants to kiss everybody goodnight, and she has to put her toys away, blah, 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 blah. Suddenly, a 5-minute process can be turned into about an hour. And I call it a toddler strategy. and suddenly realize that they're up against the reality of bed or eating or whatever it is, and they start. And this one client did exactly that. She started using toddler strategy and kept throwing things out. Oh, well, what about this and what about that? And the idea of either doing the weight, to feel the weight, or to...
Yes, many people that you work with, those people who are in a kind of a bit of a stuck state, sometimes do have a little bit of aversion to going into dealing with it. So it's quite a common thing that the person is wanting to just be all over the place with everything else, actually, So that you really do need to have techniques, in fact, of creating brain entrainment.
Yeah, getting that conscious mind to do something.
Yeah.
The sound sounds good. Over my house, you hear airplanes periodically. And with my own self-hypnosis, I've used the airplanes to keep taking me deeper and deeper. As opposed to being irritated by them, I allowed them to take me in deeper. And
Yes.
so I've been using that with some of my clients.
The other thing is, like I say, you're incorporating. So it's a good idea to incorporate the things that are occurring. This lends credence to you as the change agent.
And I use Aaliyah, you can hear her in the house, and I use her noises and giggling and stuff as something sometimes for their conscious mind to hang out with.
So if you don't incorporate a noise like that, what happens?
It often distracts.
Yes,
pulls
because
people
it
out.
becomes outside the experience, and that the thing itself pulls the person out of the experience, rather than sensing the noise of the wood being put into the fire, being part of what it is that's happening here. Okay.
As Ned doing the induction, you mentioned the airplane noise. Look, another question. The statements you're making, they have to be verifiable during the induction. They're stronger. Should he wait until he hears a plane pass and the client hears the noise and then say, as you're hearing the noise of the airplanes or whatever, or should he say it before the plane goes over?
It sounds like it would have quite a bit of strength when the plane goes over the first time.
The way I do it is I just say, and there will be noises
Oh, yes.
that happen because of my house.
Yeah.
Just noises.
So it's a
And then when the
verifiable
airplane goes over, I say, allowing the airplane to take you deeper and deeper, or
Excellent.
whatever word may work with some people.
That was just the strength of the statements you're using during the induction. It's a verifiable
Yeah.
statement. As you relax, you feel the chair you're sitting in, your feet on the floor.
So as you're pacing what the person's experience is going to be. If you've paced something ahead of time, when the person arrives there, you've already taken care of that.
Right, so it does.
So if Ned is able to do some things that involve predicting the future, and there's the possibility that there will be some noise, and that everything that you hear can all be added to this experience and take you further and further into this state of relaxation. The more that you hear these noises, the more that, so that one is tied to the other kind of,
I hallucinated a client going deeper again saying, and there'll be airplane noises, and all of a sudden the client on airplane. I haven't heard airplane. And it's kind of a distraction.
Right, no,
Okay,
I just say there will be sounds and noises.
Yes,
And then
okay.
when there is a specific, I verify it by saying, yes, the airplane's taking you deeper.
What I hear from that is that it's making the experience very real for the person that's going into trance, because it's allowing them to go into trance with the unconscious mind and keeping the conscious mind, aware.
Validated.
Right, so that they are right there in their body as well as getting help from you. It's a situation where they're really present with with what's
Right, and
going
there are
on.
certain words that I do not use. Trance is one of them.
Right.
People, when they hear trance, they think, oh, I'm going to use my mind. What does that do? And so I say the way I perceive hypnosis is it's an altered state. One that, and I show them that they're already in and out of altered state the whole time they've been in my office.
Good idea to be having the person be congruent about trance, because it's something that happens to them every day, so why not make use of it? When you're daydreaming during the day and you're feeling a sense of trance, I said, we just talked about something happening the other day, but you've said that. Good idea to be congruent about all of this as much as you can with the person, so it's not like, I can't say the word trance because people will freak out.
Right. It's
Or
just
something
not
like
one that I start with.
Right.
Just because of some of the,
Preconceived ideas.
and really fearful clients.
Can you imagine actually a person sort of a little bit more in trance, in fact, what a wonderful state that is to be in, because this is enabling you totally to work on what's going to be happening here in this session, and allowing your mind to be quiet and feeling relaxed. That's really what that's all about. And actually I go through the motions of literally speaking about what the eyes would be doing, taking the eyes to a specific location, allowing the eyes to defocus, speaking to the person in a way that as they're feeling the need to want to blink, allowing your eyes to close, start to feel that you can be relaxing more. And I'm really actually going through the whole process because this does help. It helps the person to realise, hey, good idea for me to be relaxed. This person knows language that enables me to be able to relax more. So I can really get at these things, actually. Okay. Okay, Newt. Who's next?
I'll tell that time. I did number 8. Something that I would like to learn is Tanya told me about skydiving and her strategy for learning. She says that when she first started out for skydiving, she went into it because she was seeking pleasure.
Okay, so she started out, so meaning vestibular. Okay, she started out, so the very first thing totally about Tanya's decision to skydive was it did involve vestibular change inside itself.
She didn't say start out, I said that.
Okay.
It was about pleasure seeking. She said, well, actually what she said was she needed to have people, she needed to hear from other people critique about how she could improve her form, how she was doing the skydiving. And she talked about the art of skydiving and involved a lot of the vestibular, the up, the down.
So how did she decide to skydive? Because that's what you're interested in, isn't it?
Yeah,
how did she decide to skydive?
She was seeking pleasure.
Seeking thrill. Okay, but I mean seeking thrill by itself, there needs to be, how did she seek thrill?
By deciding to jump out of the airplane.
Okay. Deciding to jump kinesthetic out vestibular. Okay, now vestibular is involving change. So, okay.
She says that what she does is she sees herself in a form of excellence, jumping out of the plane, doing it. And that in the past, she needed to hear the external. She needed to hear people telling her how to do it correctly. And then she internalized that, and now she talks to herself, seeing herself performing excellently.
Okay. Do you think that now that you have Tanya's strategy, it's possible that you have a piece that you spoke that would enable you to also have an experience of parachuting? Possibly, okay. So then the one thing, in fact, that's about Tanya's ability to do this really is how did she decide? How did she go from this state to this state of doing this? So I really would be interested in that part of the process, and I would be getting a sensory strategy for that. One thing that we do know, possibly that you could use, is seeing yourself actually doing it, feeling excellent about it, and just being on the ground and seeing many people, or being outside the plane actually, and seeing people jump out, people that you know, seeing them do it excellently, and then seeing yourself jump out and doing it excellently. That may be a way to imagine that you have the ability to do this.
Okay, you also decided to imagine.
Pardon?
Get excited imagining.
Yes. Okay, so good, adding into the feeling components of it and everything. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
There was a part I heard the same conversation. There was something that I heard that I didn't quite hear Carol say, was that Tanya says to herself, she learned the material from her teachers, and when she goes to do it now, she may be hesitant. And her strategy is to say, I know how to do this, I've done it, I know how to do it, I don't have to have more instructions, like I know how to do it, and she said she would do it.
So positive affirmation, she has also positive